Hello students, this is Mrs. Lakshmi Deshpande, KLS Gokte PU College of Commerce and Science, Belagavi. Welcome to the second part of the fourth unit, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in the Forest. I once again suggest you to keep the textbook in front of you for better understanding. In the last class, we discussed Vandana Shiva's involvement in the contemporary ecological movement, the role of women in Chipko movement, biodiversity and its conservation, monocultures, polycultures, Navdhanya farm, biodiversity intensive farming and its advantages. So, we came to know how biodiversity intensive farming can become an answer to the food and nutrition crisis. Let us now continue the class. Navdhanya, the movement for biodiversity conservation and organic farming which Vandana Shiva started in 1987 is spreading. They have worked with farmers to set up more than 100 community seed banks across India. They have saved more than 3,000 rice varieties. They also help farmers make a transition from fossil fuel and chemical based monocultures to biodiverse ecological systems nourished by the sun and the soil. Now, why make a transition from fossil fuel? Because fossil fuel is a fuel that was formed millions of years ago from dead animals or plants in the ground. Fossil fuel contributes to global warming. Burning of coal and petroleum produces a lot of pollutants causing air pollution. Fossil fuels release oxides of carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, etc. that cause acid rain, which affects the soil fertility. And so, at Navdhanya, they help farmers to switch to biodiverse ecological systems from fossil fuel and chemical based farming so that more food can be produced which is full of nutrition and without affecting the soil fertility and nature. Thus, she says that biodiversity has been her teacher of abundance, freedom, cooperation, and mutual giving. Here, she says biodiversity teaches us how to grow more, how to be free from pollution and chemicals, cooperation with our co-creatures like animals, birds, plants, etc. and mutual giving, that is, whatever we take from nature, we should return. We don't have any right to pollute nature. The next segment is rights of nature on the global stage. When nature is a teacher, we co-create with her. We recognize her agency and her rights. Nature is a great teacher and world's best teacher. Nature teaches us how to be calm, patient, kind, etc. The best lesson we learn from nature is to be the giver than the receiver. Nature gives us many things like sunshine, rain, food, water, seasons, flowers, and many other things without expecting anything in return. Nature includes the sun, the moon, trees, rain, oceans, fields, mountains, and many other things. Each thing teaches us a lesson, like the sun teaches us how to shine in life, the moon teaches us how to shine and be calm even in darkness, and trees teach us how to share our shelter and food with others, and rivers teach us how to move forward facing the challenges of life. That is why it is significant that Ecuador has recognized the rights of nature in its constitution. Ecuador is a country in South America which is bordered by Colombia, Peru, and the Pacific Ocean. Friends, I personally think that such rules are necessary to improve environmental protection and encourage people to rethink their relationship with nature. Instead of viewing nature as a commodity that exists for humans to use and abuse, these statutes, means the laws made by legislative, consider nature as important for its own sake and for the well-being of human life. So, Ecuador is the first country to recognize rights of nature in its constitution. I hope you understand the meaning of rights of nature. Rights of nature means recognizing and honoring that nature has rights rather than treating nature as property, acknowledging that nature in all its life forms has the right to exist, persist, maintain, and regenerate its vital cycle. In April 2011, the United Nations General Assembly, inspired by the Constitution of Ecuador and the Universal Declaration of the Rights of the Mother Earth, initiated by Bolivia, organized a conference on harmony with nature as part of Earth Day celebrations. Much of the discussion centered on ways to transform system based on domination of people over nature, men over women, and rich over poor into new systems based on a partnership. The UN Secretary General's report, Harmony with Nature, issued in conjunction with the conference, elaborates on the importance of reconnecting with nature. Why should we get connected with nature? Because our forests, rivers, oceans, and soil provide us with the food we eat, the air we breathe, the water we irrigate our crops with. We also rely on them for numerous reasons. We also depend on them for our health, happiness, and prosperity. But friends, here the issue is of reconnecting with nature, which means we were earlier connected with nature and gradually that bondage broke and we started to disrespect her and disregard her. But now it is again time to bring back that lost bondage and realize our duties and responsibilities towards Mother Earth. Ultimately, environmentally destructive behavior is the result of a failure to recognize that human beings are an inseparable part of nature and that we cannot damage it without severely damaging ourselves. Got that point, students? Why this destructive behavior comes to man? Because we fail to recognize that we are a part of environment and cannot be separated. Man and nature, the two inseparable parts of the environment. The word nature includes all the elements of earth, land, soil, plants, and even animals. The two elements of nature, man and tree, are closely related to each other. They both are dependent on each other and this way maintaining the balance of ecosystem. But man fails to realize this fact in fulfilling his materialistic wants. We fail to understand that by destroying nature, we are destroying ourselves. Mark that. If we damage nature, we damage our own life because we cannot damage nature without severely damaging ourselves. Okay, I told you that destructive behavior comes because we fail to understand that we are an inseparable part of nature. But then, why do you fail to understand this very fact? Students, that is because of separatism. Separatism is indeed at the root of disharmony with nature and violence against nature and people. It is this thought of separateness that has created a long gap between man and nature. Man, in his intoxication of intellectuality, scientific inventions, and discoveries, thinks that he is separate from nature, rather superior to it. Humans have declared themselves superior to the natural world. And this illusion of superiority of man over nature is the root cause of disharmony between humans and nature. A prominent South African environmentalist, Cormac Cullinan, points apartheid means separateness. The world joined the anti apartheid movement to end the violent separation of people on the basis of color. He says that apartheid in South Africa was put behind them. Today, in the same way, once again the people of the world should join hands to overcome or to eradicate the deeper and wider gap that has been created between humans and nature. We have to eradicate it from our minds and lives. Okay. Hope you understood that environmentally destructive behavior comes because we fail to understand that humans are an inseparable part of nature, and why we fail is because we have deep rooted the illusion in our minds and lives that we are separate from nature, or we are superior to nature, or nature is exclusively for our use. But then, when and where did this thought or illusion of separateness come from? Earlier, we worshipped nature. Our ancestors knew the fact that nature is everything. We can still witness the importance of nature and environment in our mythological epics like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Earth, nature were not just things for us. They were gods. Every element, the earth, the sun, fire, rain, water, air, were gods. They called them Surya Deva, Agni Deva, Varuna Deva, Vayu Deva, etc., and visualized them as deities. And if we keenly observe the festivals and our ancient rituals, all have been made to worship, respect, and preserve nature and protect animals. Not only the elements of nature, but animals also were believed to be gods, like cow, elephant, snake, etc., were worshipped on different occasions, and still we blindly follow them. Then what happened in between that we became so cruel and insensitive that we forgot our ancient culture? When I say cruel, I am sadly reminded of an incident that recently happened in Kerala, where a pregnant elephant was killed mercilessly, which is the pinnacle of human brutality. The earth, whom we called our mother, became a dead matter. The war against the earth began with this idea of separateness, which I told you that we have deep rooted in our minds and lives. Remember, friends, we have waged a war against the earth. Its contemporary seeds were sown when the living earth was transformed into dead matter to facilitate the Industrial Revolution. So, with Industrial Revolution, there increased an unhealthy competition among human beings at the cost of Mother Earth and nature. Man gradually went on becoming selfish, insensitive, cruel, materialistic, and money minded. He forgot our age old culture of worshipping nature and its importance. And the result of this industrial revolution was that monocultures replaced diversity. The earth, which was vibrant and colorful, started to look dull and pale. The beautiful earth, which was full of different nutrient crops, fruits, flowers, birds, and animals, was replaced by raw materials and dead matter for the industries. Pure air got polluted by the poisonous smoke, pure water got polluted by the effluents, and the peaceful environment was filled with the harsh noise of factories. Terra nullius means empty land or nobody's land without caring for the local people was ready to be occupied and replaced terra madre, which means mother earth. I will discuss the next segments in the next class. Thank you.